Salve Discipuli and welcome to Ecce Romani chapter 10. Today we're going to talk about conjugations. Conjugations are the patterns that verbs follow. Let's get right into it. So we've already talked about the different endings that verbs can have right now, and those change depending on who does the action, I versus you versus someone else. And those, as we talked about them so far, are O if I do the action, S or if you do the action, and T if he, she, or it does the action. And continuing on from there, those are the singulars, and now we have the plurals, which are MUS for we, TIS for you all, and NT for he, she, for they. Now the endings are pretty standard, but you may be asking yourself, what's the difference between dokemos and pergamos? There's a different vowel there before that. And that is what conjugations are. They are what tell you the difference between the vowels that you put between the stem of the verb and its ending. What I'd like you to do right now is take out a fresh piece of paper and divide these verbs into 4 different categories. Let's say 4 different categories based on what vowel they have before these endings. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video until you finish doing the thing now. I'm hoping that you took the time to do that, and if your paper looks something similar to this, then you're in a really good place, because you can notice that we have one vowel in common in this category, and that's going to be A. One category in common in this category, and that's an E. And then these two have an I in common. Okay. Now we're going to talk about how these divide into different categories now. So you can see here that we have 5 different categories of verbs. These are the conjugations, and they're based on what vowel comes at the end there, ARE. And they've been conjugated into the 6 personal forms here. Porto, I carry, portas, you carry, portat, he, she, or it carries, and etc. So you'll see ARE, long ERE. This is important because that long ERE, you'll see, compare the long ERE here to the ERE here, and see how you have a timeo, times, timet, versus surgo, no E there, surgis, no E, collapses into an I, surgit, E, there's an I but no E. So go ahead and just take a look at those patterns, because this is going to be really important for you to start memorizing what these patterns are. Now, go ahead and try it yourself. Try to divide these verbs into the categories they belong to. 1, 2, 3, 3-I-O, and 4th. Okay? At this point, guys, I want to make sure you're copying this down into your notes, because this is really important stuff for you to have as a reference, so you can start really making sure that you're adding those vowels correctly. So make sure you're copying this down. There are 5 different conjugations. The first conjugation is going to look like this. O in the first part, ARE in the second part. So it's going to be words like amo, amare, or ambulo, ambulare. So that's first conjugation. Second conjugation is going to look like this. EO, long ERE. This is important. This is a long ERE. Because that strong E stays in all the forms, in almost all the forms. And when we get some practice conjugating, you'll see that. Third is going to be O again, short ERE this time. Okay, so that E now is going to collapse into an I when you add the ending. So if words like Lego, legere, I read. That E is going to collapse into an I to be legged, as you've seen before. Third I-O is going to look like that. There's an extra I there for words like aripio, aripere. The third plural is aripiunt, whereas the third plural of a word like lego, legere is legunt, no I. The last conjugation is the fourth, and that follows a pattern like so. I-O here, I-R-E. I-R-E. For a word like dormio, dormire, to sleep. Okay, so these are the 5 different conjugations, and as we move forward, you're going to start memorizing those for vocab quizzes in what are called middle column forms. At this point, what I want you to do, Discipuli, is to identify the conjugation of these 10 verbs based on their first 2 principal parts, that is the first person present and the infinitive. So let's take number 1, vexo, vexare, to annoy. What conjugation does this belong to? And where we look for that is the vowel in the middle of the infinitive. Vexare. What conjugation does that belong to? And remember that conjugations go in alphabetical order. So come in tomorrow with these 10 verbs identified in what conjugation they belong to. See you tomorrow.